the new approach to education that will have you falling off your chair. You see, there's no school, no classes, no teachers, no tests, nothing. The kids do whatever they want, whenever they want. It's not homeschooling, it's unschooling. Giving your children control over their own education may sound crazy, but as Michael Usher discovered, the results are very surprising.
The bell's rung and it's another busy school morning. Around Australia, classrooms have filled with 3.5 million young students. But for a growing number of children, these scenes are completely foreign. Children like the Clarks, who are part of an increasing movement called unschooling. For them, there are no desks, no tests, no books or curriculum.
It's allowing your children to learn naturally through their passions and what they enjoy to do.
But when do they learn to read and write and add up?
Everyday life.
To understand unschooling, take everything you know about education and turn it on its head. There are no subjects, only life. The basics, like reading, writing and maths, come naturally when the kids are ready. Unschooled children learn what they want, when they want. It's completely up to them.
It's very much about teaching them how to learn themselves. So rather than just giving them some facts, teach them how to find those facts and also how to problem solve.
I love your one-eyed monster.
Unschooling is not homeschooling, where children follow a curriculum and are regularly tested. Rachel and George Clark have removed their 4 kids from the education system altogether. They believe that everyday life can educate their children better than teachers and textbooks.
You've rejected, in a way, the school system that most people think is not only a right but a privilege.
Depends on who you talk to.
Well, I think our education system hasn't changed substantially in a lot of years, and it still suits a lot of children. They're happy to do what the teachers ask, happy to learn as they're told, in the order they're told. You know, we learn small bits to get to the bigger bit. Some kids, like our eldest, they want to see the big picture, and then they'll fill in the gaps of the smaller stuff when they need it.
No, I'm not dying. I am not dying.
Rachel and George first turned to unschooling to help their eldest daughter, Jemima, who has Asperger's. The Clarks say Jemima thrived when they took her out of school. So they also withdrew 9-year-old Millie. And their son William has never set foot inside a classroom.
Dan, leave me.
For us, it became a real battle at home in terms of trying to get her to school and then trying to get her to do what the teachers had asked. And I just watched my daughter go downhill really quickly in terms of her anger, frustration,
Self-esteem.
anxious, just everything. So eventually I realised the system didn't fit her and I needed to remove her.
The system wanted her to fit in.
Yeah.
And she didn't fit in.
No, she didn't fit that system.
While the Clarks are very much in the middle of their education experiment. In rural Victoria, the results are in for one unschooling family. On their farm just outside of Bendigo, the Singh brothers are coming home to visit mum Carleen. The former teacher unschooled all 5 boys, and all have gone on to follow their passion, which for most has meant tertiary degrees or trades.
When I learned that children naturally have a wonderful love of learning and they want to find out things for themselves, I simply allowed for that.
The results are quite amazing. Joel, the oldest, has a PhD in information technology and now works for internet giant Google. 30-year-old Dion is a social worker specialising in at-risk teenagers. Tali is at university studying music, which the youngest, Eric, also wants to do. And 19-year-old Liam works with horses as an apprentice farrier.
Of your boys who've gone on to study later, how have they done that without a school qualification?
For Joel, who's the eldest, he kind of got a bit bored here at the age of 13, decided he'd like to, find something outside of the home to do. So we applied for him for the next year to do a computing course, and he did that computing course. He found it so boring, he did that one and the next year's one all in the same year. Then went on to do another course, eventually went through and finished university younger than any other university student in Bendigo.
We can't let children just pick and choose what they want to eat, nor can we let them pick and choose what they want to learn.
Dr. David Zinger is a senior education lecturer at Monash University. He's concerned with the rise of unschooling in Australia, which is largely unregulated and outside the control of state education departments.
I think state authorities need to look very carefully at unschooling because it certainly doesn't meet the needs of accreditation of parents following a school curriculum.
Because there is no curriculum.
Well, the curriculum is decided by the child, and if the child wants to play all day, then I guess that's what they do.
If there were a global headquarters for this free-range education revolution, it would be this unassuming home in the woods of New Hampshire in America's northeast.
What are you guys making?
I'm melting a crayon.
She's melting crayons with a glue gun.
Will this work if I call?
I don't know, Tip. You're going to have to. I don't have time to.
No, our kids have never been tested. They've never learned from a textbook. Our life, we're just learning. It's no different than how you might live or I might live. I don't say right now, I'm doing math because I'm baking a cake. That's really not natural. We don't live life like that.
Author and unschooling advocate Dana Martin is the inspiration for many.
Would you make me a plant hanger again?
Sure, yeah.
I could use another one.
She and her husband Joe practice what they call radical unschooling.
Oh, you're going to do a trail of fire to it?
Yeah.
That means their 4 kids don't just have total control over what they learn, but whatever they do and whenever they do it.
Our kids don't have bedtimes. They don't have any restrictions on any kind of media, and they can eat what they want when they want. Now, when somebody first hears that, they tend to think...
Well, I'm about to say, that just sounds like chaos.
I know, and most people think that. If you would have told me that 15 years ago, I would have believed the same thing. However, they make really good choices for themselves. Our kids go to bed when they're tired. They wake up when they're rested. Freedom and trust are the basis of this life, but I know it's really hard for most parents.
Yeah, I mean, the kids have total freedom to, anything from jumping on the trampoline at 2 in the morning to staying up late,
How late do the kids go to bed sometimes?
Yeah, well, I mean, just last night, I basically said, what do you think, Orion? Are you ready to go to bed? And it was 3:05 a.m. And he said, yeah, I'm tired.
And how old is he?
And he's 5.
I do little jabs, Great.
They may go to bed and get up late, but a rules-free lifestyle doesn't mean the Martin kids sit on their hands.
There we go.
Devon, the eldest, spends much of his time learning practical skills, like woodwork and blacksmithing.
If I'm interested in woodworking, then I'm going to woodwork. If I'm interested in a video game, I'm going to play that video game. Whatever I want to do, I can do.
Have you looked at subjects, though? Like, if you went to school, you'd do history, geography, math, English?
If I wanted to, I would. I'm learning what I'm doing, and I'm doing it pretty well, I like to think. And I figured I can learn almost anything that way. History would be easy. I just go online and read about it.
So you can learn a lot from online. You can learn a lot from YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, we call it YouTube, the University of YouTube, or YouTube University.
Have you ever thought that you might like to go to school?
I've thought about it a few times for about 4 seconds, and I realized, of course not. Why would I want to leave this life and go to school?
But back in Bendigo, the experience of the Singh boys suggests that unschooling can deliver very mixed results. So most students in school would learn to read at the age of 6. How old were your kids?
Some of the children have really struggled with reading in particular, and so 2 of them were 11 and 12, another 2 were 14, and Liam at 19 still finds reading quite difficult.
Carleen is the first to admit that not all her boys have thrived academically or even achieved basic literacy.
Hold good. Put your head up.
While Liam has found a successful career as a farrier, he still has trouble with the basics.
I've struggled with reading and writing a little bit.
Is that because if you don't find an interest in it, you don't do it?
I don't really think that that's my problem. I'm not really sure. I just know that I've always found it really, really difficult to read and write.
And older brother Dion didn't really learn to write till he was well into his 20s.
I think I really only learned to write maybe, might be 7 years ago when I actually had to. So up until then I just got out of it or avoided it in any way that I could.
And did that set you back that you didn't have that basic skill?
No, I just found ways around it, I think.
Learning to read and write is the most difficult thing that a child will ever learn, and it's the most important thing that a child will ever learn. And to be successful in life today, children need to be literate and numerate, and children cannot learn to read and write by themselves.
If the boys were in school, might they have learnt to read earlier or at least have problems identified earlier?
I don't think they would have learned to read any faster. And I think what would have occurred is they wouldn't have been able to become the people that they've become because they haven't had any of that pressure to be a certain way or to learn in a certain manner that other people have learned.
And now another generation of Carlene's family is keeping away from the classroom. Joel and his wife Nikki have decided to unschool their 4 children.
One of the things that is brilliant about unschooling is it means that you can follow the things that you're interested in.
So you wouldn't consider structured classroom education for your children at all?
No. At this point in time, this is what I can see has worked, and the outcome that is provided for Joel and his brothers is certainly an outcome that I would be interested in for my children.
Got your pile? William's got a few. Millie, I think you're missing a few.
In Toowoomba, the Clark kids have no problem with literacy. Both Jemima and Millie are avid readers, and William is gradually picking it up.
William, at the age of 6 now, amazes me, all the stuff and the letters he knows, and just everyday life they learn it.
But you don't push them in front of a book to learn to read or write or do maths?
No, I do like to encourage them, especially my 6-year-old, to do some letters and numbers today, but that might be just a jigsaw.
One of the things all these families insist is that unschooling does not mean unparenting. It's a hands-on job finding new ways for their children to learn every day. And there are no school holidays or breaks.
I've got to say, as a parent who's happy to send their kids off to school, it sounds like a lot of hard work, what you're doing.
It's a lot easier than school. We're very much happy to send our kids to school before it didn't work. Doesn't work, I now know so much more. I think it doesn't work for all children, and if it's not working and we've got an alternative, let's do the alternative.
And they're so happy.
They are, yeah.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.